Most guys are under the false assumption that quitting porn is just stop watching it. Like, that's it. But that's only on the surface. Like what God is actually doing when you stop walking towards pornography and instead for freedom changes everything. And in this video, we're going to talk about the changes that will happen that are so much greater than that. I'm saying this from experience. In my life, I was hooked on pornography for like 15 years, and it was hidden. And I was isolated even within marriage. My wife did not know. And by God's grace, I've been able to walk a road of freedom for over 16 years now of sobriety. And things that changed in my life were kind of shocking. I didn't realize how much would change. So if you're in the beginning, or maybe you've been walking the journey for a while, what I hope you get out of this video is strength on those days you feel weak, that it'll remind yourself of what is at stake. All right, let's dive in. The first thing that happens in your life, and this happens pretty quick, is your mind starts to heal. See, porn rewires your brain negatively. It teaches you to chase quick pleasure instead of real connection. But as you step into sobriety, your brain begins to recalibrate. You start to feel emotions that you were numbing and you weren't aware of it. See, instead of this numbness, you have some negative emotions that come up, but also what I didn't know is I was numbing a ton of positive emotions. Because you can't like just pick and choose what you're numbing. And so your mind will start to heal. You'll get some clarity back, focus, energy, motivation. The fog starts to lift. And it's almost like, for me, slowly a movie that was black and white became colored. So you start to realize the world looks different when your mind's not hijacked by lust. You begin to think like a man again, not a slave to impulse, but a free man. Our mind healing is one of the first things you can notice when you stop watching porn. And honestly, in my life, my mind healing is still going on to this day, 16 years later. See, my mind is healing from memories that are in there. My mind is constantly healing. I was just telling my wife this last week, the love that I feel from her is so much deeper than I ever would have thought possible. See, I did not know that the pornography was numbing all of that goodness. Just thought it was an escape. Your mind will heal pretty quick, but it will also take years to fully heal. The second thing that will start to change is your confidence starts to grow. Most men don't expect that, but your confidence starts to skyrocket as you become real. See, when we're looking at pornography, especially when we're hiding it, we know we are not what we're showing the world. And so because of that, I was super insecure. Like people would say things that were positive, like, you don't know the real me. And so when I started to have sobriety stack, I started to gain confidence, not in just that I would stay sober, but also just who I was. Because what I said I stood for, I was actually standing for. So your confidence will grow because of those two things. One, you'll start living like you say you live. Those things will be congruent. It won't be a mask on the outside and something else when people aren't watching. But it's also every time you resist temptation, you build trust with yourself, which grows more confidence. See, you stop feeling like a hypocrite when you go to pray. You start walking with your head up and you start believing again that you can live in victory. See, when the years start stacking up, when you are in the addiction, you start losing hope that it can change. But when you start stacking up days of sobriety, you start believing again and hope starts to return. See, confidence isn't pride, it's alignment. It's what happens when your spirit, your body, and your mind start walking in the same direction again. You become congruent. And that just leads to overflowing confidence. See, the third thing that begins to happen is your marriage begins to heal. See, when you stop numbing out on porn, you start showing up in your marriage. You become more patient, more attentive, more emotionally connected. You start seeing your wife as a person and not an emotional outlet or an object. Here's what's wild: as you stop trying to fix her out of your shame, to perform for her because you knew that you looked at something you shouldn't have. And so you're not trying to perform for approval. She begins to feel safe with you again. Because the shame that used to make you hide isn't as present. And in the safety, real intimacy grows. Not just physical, but emotional and spiritual. So your marriage becomes what it's always meant to be, a reflection of Christ and the church. And this marriage healing is something that can happen pretty quick, where the healing starts to take place. But in all these things, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that it takes time. My marriage and my life is incredible, and I never could have pictured it being this great. And my marriage is still healing. There's moments and times where her doubt peaks up because of what I did. And in that moment, it's tempting to be guarded. But again, this is just another moment for my marriage to heal. And the same thing is going to be true for you, is your marriage will heal more like this, where it's going to start healing pretty quick. And then it might feel like you're taking steps back. And I just wanted to tell you, you're not taking steps back. You're taking ground back. The fourth thing that happens is you start to feel God's presence again. See, when you're stuck in porn, prayer feels heavy. And I don't know about you, but I would even avoid God in that season of my life. That I'd wait a few days to talk to him again because my shame was so strong. And worship would feel fake. The Bible would feel dry. Why? Because shame builds walls between us and God. But when you start walking in purity, those walls start to fall down, and you sense his presence again, not because he left, but because you stopped hiding. And as you start to walk in those seasons, here's what is so cool about it, is you start to reveal parts of your heart that you didn't know you were hiding from God. That instead of running to porn, you start running to Jesus with. And you begin to hear his voice on a whole other level. That shame you feel kind of dissipates, and that conviction turns you back into connection with him. Instead of that shame of hiding, that joy you lost starts to return. Sobriety from porn, it's not about behavior, it's about restoring relationship with the King of the universe, your heavenly Father who loves you. And because you're in connection with him and you're present again and you're confident again, you start to rediscover purpose and strength. And when your mind is free and your heart is clean, wow, something powerful happens. You start to remember whose you are. You stop living like a man who's dangerous to himself, and you start living like a man who's dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Because porn was not just stealing your purity, it was stealing your purpose. And when you walk in freedom, you become a man who carries power, a man whose presence brings peace. And stuff will start to hit your mind that you didn't know God was calling you to. And you start leading on a whole other level. Yeah, when I started walking out this journey, being free from pornography, my mentor said something to me. He goes, "Man, I could see you helping guys with this someday." And at that moment in time, my shame was so big and heavy, and I didn't see what the heck he was talking about. I thought, I'm just trying to make it through the week. And because of God's grace, I get to walk with men through this stuff. I get to record a video to you. And so if you're in this point of hopelessness, I just want to say the love, the passion, the purpose you have on the other side is worth it. Don't give up. Freedom is worth fighting for.